The wedding hall shimmered with golden light, laughter, and the soft hum of violins. Every corner was draped in white roses and silver ribbons. Guests smiled, clinking glasses and taking pictures of the couple on the stage, Daniel and Leela, glowing under the chandeliers like they had stepped out of a dream. It was the kind of wedding that looked perfect, the kind that made people whisper, "They're meant for each other." Outside, the late afternoon sun had begun to fall, casting long, orange shadows down the marble steps leading to the hall. But no one noticed the small figure standing just beyond the gates. A 9-year-old boy, thin, with messy hair and dirt on his shoes, was clutching something wrapped in a blue blanket. His hands trembled, partly from the cold breeze, partly from fear. He looked around as cars came and went, guests in suits and shimmering dresses walking past him without a glance. Inside the bundle, a newborn baby stirred, letting out a soft whimper. The boy looked down quickly. "SHH, please don't cry, just a little longer," he whispered. His voice cracked. He had walked a long way barefoot for most of it, and his legs ached. But he wasn't going to stop. Not now. Not when he had finally found the place his mother had told him about. The Evergreen Hall, written in gold letters above the gate, was exactly what she had said. The place where he would be. Taking a deep breath, the boy stepped inside. Inside, the sound of clinking glasses and music filled the air. The ceremony had just ended, and guests were now moving toward the buffet tables. Leela laughed as her bridesmaids adjusted her veil. Daniel, tall and confident, was shaking hands with an older man, his father, both wearing matching smiles that had convinced the crowd of a perfect family picture. Then the large doors creaked open. Heads turned. At first, no one really noticed him. The boy was small, lost among tall adults in glittering dresses. But when he took a few more steps forward, holding that small blue bundle close to his chest, the room began to quiet. A waiter carrying a tray stopped mid-step. Someone dropped a fork. The music faded. The boy's face was pale, eyes wide, frightened but determined. He looked straight at the couple on the stage. Daniel frowned. Who's that kid?" he whispered to Leela. Leela turned, confused. "Is he someone's relative?" The boy kept walking slowly, his shoes squeaking against the marble. Every guest was watching him now. The baby in his arms gave a soft cry. Gasps rippled across the hall. "Oh my God, he's holding a baby," someone murmured. The wedding photographer lowered his camera. The boy stopped at the edge of the red carpet that led up to the stage. His small chest rose and fell quickly. He looked terrified, but his eyes stayed fixed on Daniel. "Are you Daniel Brooks?" he asked in a shaky voice. Daniel blinked, frowning. Yeah, who are you, kid? What are you doing here?" The boy swallowed hard, tightening his grip on the blanket. "My name is Eli," he said softly. "And this," he looked down at the baby in his arms, "this is your son." The entire hall froze. For a moment, it was as if time itself stopped. The music, the laughter, the chatter, all gone. Someone gasped audibly. Daniel stared, his mouth slightly open. "What did you just say?" Eli's lips trembled. "He's your baby," he repeated, a tear rolling down his cheek. "Mom said to find you before it's too late." Leela's smile had disappeared completely. She stared at Daniel, confusion turning to fear. "Daniel, what is he talking about?" I don't know," Daniel stammered. "I've never seen this kid in my life." Eli took a hesitant step forward. "You knew my mom," he said quietly. "Her name was Sophie." The name struck like lightning. Daniel's expression changed just for a moment before he caught himself. The guests were whispering now, like wind through trees. "Sophie?" Leela repeated. "Who is Sophie?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "No one," he said quickly. "This is some kind of mistake." But the boy wasn't done. He took another step closer. His eyes were red, but his voice, though small, was steady. "She told me you'd say that," Eli said. "But she said you'd know it was true when you saw this." He carefully shifted the blanket and pulled out a small silver pendant, a heart-shaped locket. It glimmered under the chandelier light. He held it up. Daniel's face went pale. The crowd leaned in, whispering. "That locket," Daniel whispered under his breath. "No." Leela's voice was sharp. "Daniel, do you know that necklace?" Daniel hesitated. It looks similar to one I gave to a friend a long time ago, but this doesn't mean." The baby suddenly cried louder and Eli's eyes filled again. "She's gone," he said softly. "Mom's gone. She told me to come here. She said you'd help us." Silence filled the room again. Leela's hand slowly dropped from Daniel's arm. The guests exchanged glances, unsure whether to stay or leave, but no one moved. The air was heavy, charged with shock, pity, and disbelief. Finally, the priest who had performed the ceremony cleared his throat softly. "Son, where is your mother now?" Eli shook his head. She got sick. She said she couldn't take care of him anymore. She told me where to find you before she closed her eyes." His voice broke, and he looked down at the baby again. "I promised her I'd bring him to his dad." Leela turned to Daniel, her voice trembling. "Daniel, is this true?" Daniel's throat worked as he tried to speak. "Leela, I swear, I don't know what's happening. This is insane. Someone must be setting me up." But Eli spoke again, cutting through his excuses. "You used to visit our house. You used to bring flowers. You told Mom you'd come back for her. You told her she was your only one." The words hit the air like thunder. A few guests gasped. The best man put his hand over his mouth. Daniel's father, sitting near the front, leaned forward with narrowed eyes. "Daniel, what is this boy talking about?" Daniel's voice grew defensive, desperate. "Dad, he's lying. I don't even know." "Then why," Eli whispered, "do you have the same eyes as my baby brother?" The hall went dead silent again. Leela's face crumpled, tears filling her eyes as she backed away from Daniel. "Oh my God," she murmured. "You." Daniel turned, trying to reach her. "Leela, no, it's not what it looks like, But she pulled away, shaking her head. "Not what it looks like. There's a child here, Daniel, a baby, and you." She stopped mid-sentence, looking at the baby again, then at Eli. Her anger faltered as she saw the boy's trembling lips and wet lashes. He wasn't lying. He didn't have the face of a schemer. He had the face of a boy who'd lost everything. "Eli," she said gently, her voice breaking. "Where is your mom now? Is she really gone?" Eli nodded silently. "Yesterday." Gasps again, soft. Horrified. "She told me to come here right after," Eli continued. "She said the man getting married at Evergreen Hall would know what to do." He looked up straight into Daniel's eyes. "She said you'd be scared, but you'd do the right thing." Daniel's legs felt weak. His mind was spinning, his throat dry. He could still remember Sophie, her smile, her laughter, the summer afternoons they spent together before he ever met Leela. He had promised her things he thought he could forget. But Sophie's son was standing in front of him, holding his newborn brother. And hundreds of people were watching. The priest, sensing the unbearable tension, stepped forward. "Perhaps we should take this into another room." But Eli suddenly raised his voice, trembling but fierce now. "No, everyone should know." His small voice echoed through the hall. "She was all alone when she died. Nobody helped her. She kept your picture beside her until the end. She said you were kind once and that you'd keep your promise." Leela covered her mouth, tears running down her cheeks. Daniel's shoulders slumped. His father looked at him with silent disappointment, shaking his head slowly. Eli took one more step forward, standing now just a few feet from Daniel. The baby had gone quiet again, sleeping against his chest. "You left us," Eli whispered, "but I'm here now. I did what she asked." He held the baby out slightly, his arms trembling. "She said this is your son, Daniel Brooks." And with that, the weight of truth fell across the room like a storm. For a long moment, no one moved. The hall was so silent that you could hear the faint hum of the chandelier above them. Guests stood frozen between disbelief and pity, unsure whether they were witnessing a cruel prank or the collapse of something sacred. Daniel's hands hung by his sides, motionless, as though gravity had doubled its weight. His face, once proud and radiant under the wedding lights, had turned pale. Eli's voice still echoed faintly in his mind. She said you'd do the right thing. But what was the right thing now? The priest took a small step forward. Son, maybe you and the groom can talk in private. But Eli didn't move. His chin trembled, tears gathering at the corners of his eyes. Mom said not to hide anymore, he whispered. She said the truth should be told where everyone can hear it. Daniel's father, Richard Brooks, stood now, his expression grim. Daniel, he said, his tone cutting through the heavy silence, if this boy is telling the truth, you'd better explain. Now. Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. He looked at Leela, whose veil was slightly trembling in her hands. Her mascara had begun to smudge under the tears she was trying to hold back. Finally, Daniel took a step down from the stage. His movements were slow, unsteady. Eli, he said softly, can we go somewhere quiet to talk? But Eli shook his head. You can say it here. The firmness in his small voice startled Daniel. Leela looked between them, her heart pounding. Daniel, she said, you're scaring me. Just tell me the truth, please. Daniel rubbed his face, exhaling shakily. It's complicated. Eli's small fingers tightened around the baby's blanket. She said you'd say that too. 2 years earlier, before Daniel ever proposed to Leela, there had been Sophie Allen. She wasn't rich or glamorous like the women in Daniel's social circle. She was a nurse, working late shifts at the small community hospital. Daniel had met her one night after a car accident, not as a patient, but as a volunteer helping one. She had smiled at him as she wrapped a bandage around his hand, and that smile had changed something in him. For months afterward, Daniel found excuses to visit her. Sometimes bringing coffee, sometimes just to talk. She was kind, quiet, yet strong, the kind of woman who didn't ask for much. And for a while, Daniel believed it was love. He told her things he'd never told anyone. He confessed how tired he was of pretending for his father, how suffocated he felt by expectations. Sophie listened, always without judgment. Then one night, after too much wine and too many tears, they crossed a line they could never uncross. He left the next morning for a business trip, and when he came back, everything was different. Sophie avoided him. When he finally found her again, she told him she was pregnant. Daniel had panicked. His family had just finalized a merger that depended on his spotless image. His father had warned him, one scandal and everything collapses. So Daniel did what cowards do. He promised Sophie he'd help her, then slowly disappeared from her life. He sent money once, anonymously, and told himself it was enough. He buried the memory under work, and soon after, he met Leela, bright, kind, from a respected family. He thought the past was gone. But here it was, standing before him, breathing, crying, and watching him with the same eyes that Sophie once had. Back in the hall, the crowd was restless now, murmurs spreading like ripples. Was he really seeing another woman? Poor bride, she looks destroyed. That boy, he's so brave. Daniel's father's voice boomed suddenly. Daniel. Everyone fell silent again. Is this true? Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked at the baby, at Eli, then at Leela. Yes, he said finally, his voice breaking. It's true. A collective gasp filled the air. Leela's hand flew to her mouth. For a moment she couldn't breathe. Her chest felt tight, as if someone had reached in and crushed her heart. How could you, she whispered. You made me believe. Daniel reached out, desperate. Leela, please, I didn't know about the baby. I swear I didn't know she. Eli's voice cut through him. You knew she was alone. Daniel froze. Eli continued, his words trembling but sure. You told her you'd always care. You promised. But when she got sick, she said you stopped answering her messages. She said she didn't want to make trouble, but she cried every night. Tears streamed down Leela's cheeks now. Daniel, what kind of man are you? Daniel's shoulders sagged. I was stupid, he said hoarsely. I thought I could move on. I thought she'd be okay. She wasn't, Eli said. He stepped forward again, pulling something from the folds of the blanket, a small envelope, worn and crumpled from the journey. She wrote this for you, he whispered. She said to give it to you if she didn't make it. Daniel stared at it as if it were a ghost. He hesitated, then reached out and took it from Eli's trembling hands. The envelope was light, but it felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. On the front, in faded handwriting, were the words, "For Daniel if I'm gone." The hall was utterly still as he opened it. The letter inside was short, but every word hit him like a blade. Dear Daniel, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't hold on anymore. I don't hate you. I want you to know that. You gave me love when I didn't think I deserved it. But when you left, it broke me in ways I never knew possible. I told myself you'd come back. Every day I looked at the door, hopping. I don't want you to feel guilty. I just want you to know your son deserves better than silence. His name is Noah. I named him after the man I thought you could be, someone who saves others, not someone who runs. Eli is strong. He's taken care of me through everything. Please, don't let him grow up thinking love is something that leaves. Take care of them both if you can, or at least be kind. Sophie. Daniel's fingers shook as he folded the letter back. His chest ached with something he hadn't felt in years, not guilt, not shame, but a deep, bone-crushing regret. Leela turned away, her voice breaking. All this time you told me you wanted to build a family, but you already had one. Daniel stepped toward her. Leela, please. Don't, she whispered, backing away. Don't come near me. He stopped. Eli looked at them both, the broken bride and the man who didn't know how to fix what he'd destroyed. The baby stirred again, as if sensing the heaviness around him. A woman from the crowd, perhaps moved by the scene, came forward quietly and offered Eli a chair. He sat down, gently rocking the baby. For the first time, the boy looked exhausted, his small body finally giving in to the weight he'd carried for miles. Daniel watched him, feeling something twist inside. This child had done what he couldn't, face the truth. He kneeled in front of Eli. Eli, he said softly, I can't undo what I did, I can't bring her back, but I promise I'll take care of both of you. I'll do whatever it takes. Eli looked up, his eyes red. That's what she wanted, he whispered, for you to keep your promise. Daniel nodded slowly. I will. But from behind them, Leela's voice came again, trembling but stronger this time. And what about me, Daniel? What do I do now? Daniel turned, words failing him again. Leela looked at him, tears falling freely. You could have told me the truth. You could have trusted me. But you lied, and now I have to walk away from the life I thought we were building. She looked at Eli and the baby, her expression softening. They deserve better than lies. Maybe you do too, but not with me. She slipped the ring off her finger and placed it gently on the table beside the wedding cake, untouched, perfect, but meaningless now. Then she turned and walked out of the hall. No one stopped her. The music hadn't played in over an hour. The lights seemed dimmer now, the laughter gone. Eli stood again, adjusting the baby in his arms. She said you were good once, he murmured to Daniel. Maybe you can be that again. Daniel closed his eyes, the letter still clutched in his hand. The guests began to quietly leave, one by one, whispering prayers or shaking their heads. Daniel's father came to him last, placing a heavy hand on his shoulder. You made mistakes, son, he said quietly. But now you have a chance to make something right. Don't waste it. Then he left too. Daniel stood there, surrounded by silence, a broken altar, fallen petals, and the sound of a baby breathing softly. Eli looked up at him. Do we have somewhere to go now? Daniel swallowed hard. Yeah, he said after a moment, we'll go home. For the first time that night, Eli smiled. A small, fragile smile that looked a little like Sophie's. 3 months had passed since the wedding that never was. The story had spread like wildfire. The groom who met his past at the altar, the headlines read. Some painted Daniel as a villain, others as a broken man facing his truth. But Daniel didn't care what the papers said. The only thing that mattered now were the 2 lives sleeping upstairs, the one Sophie had trusted him with. He had moved out of the city and rented a small house near the coast, a quiet, weathered place with white walls and the scent of sea salt drifting through the windows. Life had slowed down. The noise, the reputation, the deals, the empty success, all of it had fallen away like a costume he no longer wanted to wear. Every morning before the sun rose, Daniel would walk down the wooden hallway to check on them. Eli would always be the light sleeper, curled up under a blanket, one arm protectively draped over Noah's crib. And every time Daniel saw that, something in him would ache and heal at the same time. Eli had insisted on helping with everything, feeding, cleaning, learning to mix formula, folding tiny clothes. He was only 9, but he carried himself like someone much older, as if the grief had carved maturity into his bones. One night Daniel had tried to tell him, "You don't have to take care of your brother all the time, Eli. You should be playing, doing schoolwork, living like a kid." Eli had looked up quietly and said, "Mom said love means doing what you can, not what you want." That line stayed with Daniel for days. Daniel's father, Richard Brooks, had visited only once since the wedding. He had come in a black car, unannounced, and stood by the doorway, inspecting the modest home his son had chosen. "So this is where you've been hiding," he'd said, looking around the small living room cluttered with baby toys and children's books. "I'm not hiding," Daniel replied. "I'm learning." Richard had sighed, rubbing his temple. "You could have avoided all of this, you know. One wrong choice and the whole empire shakes. Do you have any idea how this made the family look?" Daniel had met his father's sharp gaze. "Maybe for once I don't care about how it looks. I care about how it feels." The older man frowned but said nothing for a long while. Then his eyes softened a little as he looked at Noah sleeping in the crib nearby. "He looks like you did," Richard murmured, "when you were that small." "Yeah," Daniel said quietly. "And Eli, he's stronger than I ever was." Richard had nodded slowly. "Mistakes like yours can destroy a man, but sometimes they make one instead." And with that, he'd left, leaving behind an envelope with a bank card inside, a silent gesture that said more than words could. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, life began to find rhythm again. Daniel enrolled Eli in a local school. The first morning, Eli had clutched his backpack nervously. "What if they ask about my mom?" he asked softly. Daniel knelt down, tying his shoelaces with care. "You tell them she was brave," he said. "Tell them she loved you more than anything." Eli nodded, his eyes bright. Every afternoon after school, they'd walk to the cliffs overlooking the sea. It was their ritual, a quiet moment to sit, watch the horizon, and talk about Sophie. Eli would tell stories about her, how she sang lullabies even when she was sick, how she once gave him her only piece of bread because he said he was hungry. Daniel would listen, sometimes smiling, sometimes breaking down when Eli wasn't looking. One evening, as the sky turned gold, Eli turned to him suddenly. "Do you think she can see us?" Daniel hesitated. "I think she can." "Do you think she forgives you?" That one pierced deeper than any wound. Daniel looked out at the waves, the wind brushing against his hair. "I don't know," he said finally, "but I hope so. I'm trying to be the kind of man she wanted me to be." Eli nodded. "Then she will." The biggest change came quietly, one early morning in spring. Noah had started to laugh, really laugh for the first time. It wasn't just a giggle, but a full, bright sound that filled the room. Daniel had been holding him, bouncing him gently when it happened. And for a moment, Daniel forgot everything, the shame, the headlines, the regret. He just laughed too, tears blurring his vision. Eli ran in from the kitchen, smiling. "He's laughing, see, he likes you." Daniel hugged both boys close, the laughter and tears mixing into one. "No," he whispered. "I think I finally like myself again." A few weeks later, a letter arrived. The envelope had no return address, but Daniel recognized the handwriting immediately. Leela. His hands trembled as he opened it. "Daniel, it took me time to stop hating you, to stop hating that day, but time has a way of softening pain when truth stays steady. I heard you left the city. I heard you're taking care of the boys. That's good. Maybe that's where you were always meant to be, not on a stage, but beside them. I wanted to tell you something. I forgive you. Not because what you did was small, but because forgiveness is the only way I could breathe again. Take care of them. Take care of yourself. Don't waste the second chance she gave you. Leela." Daniel folded the letter carefully, tears wetting the corners. He didn't know where she was now or what her life had become, but her words felt like a final blessing, one he didn't deserve but needed. That night he placed the letter in a small wooden box beside Sophie's locket, the one Eli had brought. 2 women, 2 loves, 2 lessons that had rebuilt a broken man. As the seasons changed, Daniel found work again, not in the corporate towers he once ruled, but in something smaller, truer. He began volunteering at the same hospital Sophie had worked in. At first, the nurses whispered when they recognized him from the news. But slowly, the whispers turned into nods of respect. He fixed equipment, helped carry supplies, sometimes read to the children in the pediatric ward. He never asked for attention, he just showed up. And every Friday, he'd bring Eli and Noah with him. Eli loved helping the nurses fold blankets, while baby Noah was passed around by smiling staff who adored his giggles. It was chaotic, messy, real, and for the first time in his life, Daniel felt whole. One afternoon, the head nurse approached him. "You remind me of her, you know," she said quietly. "Sophie. She used to stay late too, always making sure everyone was okay." Daniel smiled faintly. "She was better than me." "She believed in you," the nurse replied. "Even when she shouldn't have. Maybe that means something." He nodded. "It does now." One evening, Eli and Daniel walked along the shore, hand in hand, Noah tucked against Daniel's chest. The sun was sinking, the waves golden with light. Eli broke the silence. "Dad." Daniel stopped, turning to him. "Yeah." Eli looked up, his eyes searching. "You're my dad now, right?" Daniel's throat tightened. He knelt down, cupping Eli's face gently. "If you'll have me, I am." Eli smiled, tears shining in his eyes. "Then we're not alone anymore." Daniel pulled him into a hug, the 3 of them wrapped together against the wind. Above them, the sky burned orange and pink, the kind of sky Sophie would have loved. And for a moment, Daniel could almost hear her voice in the wind, soft, forgiving, and proud. That night, after putting Noah to sleep, Daniel sat on the porch with Eli beside him. The stars were bright, the air cool and calm. Eli rested his head against Daniel's arm. "You know, Mom used to say happy endings don't mean everything's perfect. They just mean you're finally okay with what happened." Daniel looked at him, smiling through tears. She was right. They sat there for a long time, no noise, no spotlight, just peace. When the breeze carried the faint scent of salt and roses, Daniel whispered into the night, "Thank you, Sophie, for everything." The sea answered softly, as if it heard. And in that quiet, Daniel Brooks, the man who had once lost everything, finally found the only thing that truly mattered. A family, a chance, and forgiveness that never stopped echoing.